to the Remembering Project, where we gather the scattered pieces of who we are and invite them home. One breath, one story, one sacred yes at a time. I'm Martina, and we haven't talked for a bit because I've decided that for a while I really want this podcast to be kind of organic and to only share when I feel like I have something that I'm inspired to share, to give me time to work on some other projects. I know that is in the world of conventional marketing and getting people to notice you, probably not the smartest way to approach it, but I really don't care because my interest is in creating something that inspires and helps people. And if I'm needing replenishment myself, it's hard to be inspiring or helpful. But today I'm feeling really motivated, and there's something I really want to talk about and share because I think a lot of people struggle with it. I know that I do, and that is the idea of protecting your peace. Now, protecting your peace is something that I've gotten a lot better at over time. I used to feel guilty saying no, and putting my own energetic and emotional needs first, but I've actually gotten really good at it, and that has been one of the gifts. I know I talk a lot about how hard being a caregiver was, but one of the gifts of it is that it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And for me, protecting my peace has become a really strong boundary. And that's important in a world that is always asking us for more output, more reaction, more noise. And in that environment, peace can start to feel like a luxury instead of the birthright that it actually is. So what I want to ask you is, what if peace isn't something you have to earn? What if it's actually something sacred that you're meant to guard? And so before we begin, I want to do things a little differently this week, and I would like to share a kind of mantra in you or with you. Sorry, not in you. I'd like to share a mantra or a prayer with you, and I'd like for you to just let it wash over you, like a prayer, like a remembering. And it is this: I release the need to prove my worth in places that cannot see it. I honor the lessons that have run their course. My clarity is my protection. My peace is my power. I'm quietly preparing for the new chapter already unfolding. What is meant for me will recognize me, and I will recognize it too. And so if you're in a place where you can do so, I'd like for you to just take a deep breath. Just breathe in and breathe out, letting your out breath be a little longer than your in breath, just to slow it down. And as you do so, feel your shoulders drop and let your body remember what peace feels like. And let's begin. So I want to talk about the myth of proving your worth, right? And that comes in the first line of the mantra, which is, I release the need to prove my worth in places that cannot see it. Really take that in. Doesn't that line feel like a long exhale? So many of us have lived in spaces where we felt like we've had to earn love or attention or approval, and where we feel like we're measured by our output, our usefulness, or our ability to stay quiet and small. But here's the truth. Your worth has never depended on who recognizes it. Your worth just is. Same thing goes for your worthiness. It just is. You know, back a few years ago, I took a priestessing initiation kind of course with a temple, and one of the first goddess archetypes that we studied was the Great Mother. And one of the kind of mantras that was repeated over and over again in connection with her is, you don't have to do or be or not be anything for me, right? Her, this is spoken in her voice, for me to love you. I simply love you. You don't have to be anything different to be worthy. And so many of us grow up in environments where nobody ever told us that, where we feel like we have to prove ourselves, or we have to be pleasing, or we have to do something in order to earn love. And you don't. You're human. You're a living being. And that alone makes you worthy of love, right? So your worth, you need to get rid of the idea that it's something you have to earn, because your worth just is. And protecting your peace is closely tied to that idea of worth and worthiness. And protecting your peace begins with remembering that you don't need to perform to belong. You don't have to stay where you're unseen, misunderstood, or feeling like you're being continually diminished. You can walk away in peace, and you can do it without proving and without explaining. Right? As they say, no is a full sentence, and it's okay to say no. So take a minute with me and try saying softly to yourself, I no longer fight to be understood. I choose peace over performance. Now, the second part of protecting your peace is being willing to honor what's complete. As humans, we crave familiarity, and sometimes that means we hang on to things that are no longer good for us. We hang on to things that are done. And so it is really powerful to be able to say to yourself and mean, I honor the lessons that have run their course. There's grace in that. There's grace in recognizing when a season is over. And sometimes we cling to old lessons like badges, afraid that letting go means forgetting. But peace asks us to release even the lessons when their work is done. Maybe it's a job that once gave you purpose but now drains your spirit. Maybe it's a friendship that can't meet you where you are now. And letting go doesn't mean dishonor. It means gratitude. You can let go with gratitude. You can let go without bitterness. Recognizing that something is no longer meant for you, even if at one time it really was meant for you, in spades, is not wrong, right? Sometimes it can feel wrong. Sometimes it can feel ungrateful. But letting go doesn't mean dishonor. It means gratitude. And you can let go while whispering, thank you for what you taught me. I can love you and still move on. And when you can do that, that's such a powerful place to be in protecting your peace. Now, the third element of protecting your peace is really that clarity is protection, right? And that's the next line in the mantra. My clarity is my protection. My peace is my power. There's deep magic in that truth. And in fact, you can't do magic without clarity, right? You have to have an intention if you want to create something in the world, if you want to manifest something. So clarity is kind of a superpower. And it's a superpower in life too, right? Clarity protects you because it anchors you in what's real. It shows you where your energy is leaking, and it shows you where your soul lights up. And you can find clarity by looking for those moments. You know it. You intuitively feel it when your energy is leaking. You know when your soul lights up. You know when you're talking about something and suddenly your whole demeanor changes and you're excited, right? Those are things that light up your soul, and those are clues. Those are your path to clarity, right? And the thing about clarity and protection, and again, sometimes we don't get taught to create strong boundaries. We don't get taught that boundaries are okay. It's not always a skill that we're raised with. And boundaries aren't walls, right? We often think about boundaries as something protective, and then we look at them as these walls that keep us in this safe space and keep other people out. But a boundary isn't a wall, it's a threshold. Boundaries help you discern what belongs inside your sacred space and what doesn't. And it's okay to make those decisions, right? You get to decide. You're a beautiful, sovereign being, and you deserve to protect your sacred space. You deserve to have a welcoming threshold that says only those things that nurture me and my soul get to come across and be inside here with me. Right? And peace doesn't have to mean silence or avoidance. Right? Sometimes it can mean disengaging and choosing not to participate in whatever is disrupting your peace. But sometimes peace is simply knowing what is yours to carry and what is not, right? And so often we can look, when we're confused about where the line is, it's really helpful to take a moment to check in with your body, right? If you're feeling peaceful, check in with your body and see, where are you feeling peace right now? It could be a warmth in your chest. It could be a looseness in your jaw. So many of us clench our jaws and hunch our shoulders when we're feeling tense, right? It can be any of those things. It could be a quiet hum between your ribs. It can be your breath. I know for me, when I get anxious, my breath speeds up. I talk faster. And when I'm feeling at peace, I have that sense of my breath being really even and regulated, and a really good tool for kind of centering yourself back in your body is what I talked about at the beginning, of just taking a breath in and taking an out breath that's longer than your breath in, and doing that intentionally for a minute or two. And you'll find that your body starts to relax, and some of the tenseness and anxiety and all of those things start to loosen up, right? Your body is such a powerful messenger of what you're feeling. Sometimes even when we're confused about what it is that we're feeling and what is ours to carry and what is not, your body really is your compass. And that's a form of protecting your peace, when you're in tune with your body and how it's reacting, and where you're feeling different emotions, or where you're feeling tense and where you're feeling loose. And excuse the coughing, I'm having some horrible fall allergies. The fourth part of protecting your peace is the idea of quiet preparation. Right? And the next line of this mantra or prayer is, I'm quietly preparing for the new chapter already unfolding. You know, often when we want a change, we get impatient. We want it to happen now. We want things to be moving. And sometimes they don't move. Sometimes the universe doesn't move on our time. And sometimes accepting that is accepting that peace can often look like stillness, like waiting and resting and not forcing, right? And those are themes that really go with this kind of time of year as we're moving into fall, and then even more into winter, where the earth rests and replenishes herself. Just because it looks like there's nothing going on the surface doesn't mean that there isn't deep work and the preparation for deep transformation or deep change isn't going on, because beneath the quiet, often life is reorganizing itself in your favor. Right? Stillness is sacred groundwork. And protecting your peace in these times might look like taking a step back from constant productivity. That might feel counterintuitive, especially if you have some kind of goal you're working toward. Sometimes we feel like we need to constantly be doing and creating, but sometimes creating space is the actual work. And protecting our peace is part of that, right? And that can come in different forms. It can be things like saying no to what's not aligned for us. It can be giving yourself permission to let your next season arrive with divine timing and not urgency. You don't have to announce every transformation. You don't have to announce every plan. In fact, there's kind of magic in letting your plans gestate until they're ready to share. We don't have to share everything. We can bloom in silence, knowing that our roots are strong. The next element to protecting our peace is trust and recognition. And that comes in the next line of the mantra, which is, what is meant for me will recognize me, and I will recognize it too. Protecting your peace is trusting that alignment doesn't require chasing. What is meant for us will find its way for us. That doesn't mean that we don't do the groundwork and the prep and that we can't create conditions that welcome it into our sphere, but it does mean that we don't always have to be doing and chasing and actively pursuing some task, right? Sometimes we have to do those things, but there's also an element of manifesting that's just putting the intention out there and trusting that it will come to us. And when we stay centered in clarity and calm, a magical thing happens, because what's meant for us starts to feel like recognition, not work or resistance. You won't have to beg for it, twist yourself for it, or explain yourself into it, right? And look, I'm right there with you. I have to remind myself of these things regularly because I get excited when I want something to happen, and I push and I try to do the work and create anxiety in myself, which is a kind of resistance, right? And when we can let go of that and just breathe, what's meant for us starts to feel like recognition. Because peace creates the stillness you need to allow you to see what's truly yours, instead of spending all your energy on pushing. And when you do that, suddenly this trust creates a soft landing place. And in that landing place, there is no being behind. There's just becoming ready. And so I really hope that this prayer, this mantra, has been helpful for you, and that walking through it with a little more depth and explanation helps you see the magic in it. And before we close, I want to return to it in its fullness. And I want to repeat the words that began this journey we've taken in the last 19 minutes. And hopefully, after diving a little more deeply into them, the words are going to carry a little bit of a deeper resonance within you. And this time I want you to hear them not just as an aspiration or some, pretty feel-good words, but as an embodiment, as a truth. I release the need to prove my worth in places that cannot see it. I honor the lessons that have run their course. My clarity is my protection. My peace is my power. I am quietly preparing for the new chapter already unfolding. What is meant for me will recognize me, and I will recognize it too. Breathe those words in. Let them settle where you need them most. Protecting your peace is not passive. It is powerful. It is how you remember who you are. Thank you for listening, for breathing, and for remembering with me today. If this episode resonated, I would ask that you share it with someone who might need a reminder to rest, release, and reclaim their peace. Until next time, take care of your heart. I'll meet you in the remembering.